Hello and welcome to episode 286 of Retro Encounter. I'm Mike Sollosi, and we're here in May of 2021 to celebrate a very special game that's very dear to my heart because it is the 35th anniversary of the Dragon Quest series. And today is the first of 4 Dragon Quest episodes in a row for Retro Encounter. But before we get into more details, let's introduce the panel, starting with Zach Wilkerson.
Hi there.
And making his Retro Encounter debut, Wes Iliff.
Hello.
And making his Retro Encounter return, Rob Steinman.
Circle gets a square.
Oh wow, is this Charles Nelson Riley?
I do what I can.
Is that what you're doing? Oh wow. Oh man, that's a game show reference that truly warms the cockles of my heart. Because we're not exactly doing a game show today, but we are playing a weird podcast gimmicky game. Because if there's one thing I love, it's those. We are bringing back our fantasy draft format because I have not played fantasy football since 2018 or so, and I am trying to fill the void in my heart left by that by drafting video game characters for vaguely unexplained reasons. So today we're doing a Dragon Quest fantasy draft. Each of us, through a snake draft format, is going to assemble a team of Dragon Quest characters. We're not trying to assemble necessarily the best team or have our teams face each other in a fantasy season, but we're just going to, try and make fun teams of characters that we like, with a vaguely fantasy football theme. We've talked about we've done this a couple times on Retro Encounter, but remarkably, we have not had a single recurring panelist between any of the draft episodes other than me. Zach, Wes, and Rob, we basically understand the format, what we're doing?
I think we've got a good idea.
Yes. Yeah, I think I got it.
For the record, that was a Paul Lind impersonation.
Paul Lind.
We were looking for Paul Lind.
I'm sorry. It's
Okay.
Panelists from 70s game shows. They all sort of run together for me a little bit, but you could have fooled me into a Charles Nelson Riley.
No, that's fair. I'm just you got to figure I've been on a RuPaul's Drag Race binge here lately, so watching Ben de la Creme.
Okay. Well, first of all, you were talking about Snatch Game, and I was talking about an actual panelist from actual Match Game.
Yes, but Paul Lind was on Hollywood Squares.
Yes, correct, but okay.
We could do this all day. Let's keep going.
We could. All right, I was thinking Match Game. You were thinking Snatch Game for 2 celebrities with vaguely similar voices. Mistakes were made. But before we go into the game properly, all 4 of us are longtime Dragon Quest fans. No one is trying to prove their mettle here, but let's just go around the table. Say, what's one thing that we like about Dragon Quest? I'll go first. I like how the monsters in Dragon Quest can go from weirdly intimidating to weirdly adorable with almost no difference at all. I love the monster designs in Dragon Quest. Anyone else have just one thing to share around the Thanksgiving table?
I love the simplicity of it. Like, I know when I pick up a Dragon Quest game, I know what I'm getting. I know, sort of where it's going to start, where it's going to end. And any surprises along the way are great, but for the most part, I understand what the tone's going to be. And I love that.
I'm going to say hunting metal slimes. There's nothing quite as amazing in a video game as when you see a metal slime. My wife says that I always start shouting, "Metal slime!" as soon as I see one. That is the most satisfying thing ever in a video game, and my heart breaks every time they run away, but that just makes me want them that much more.
I think for me, Dragon Quest might be the comfiest series I've ever played. I sit down with a controller, fire up a Dragon Quest game, and I'm a kid again. I'm at home. I can unwind in any situation.
All right. So that is nice and happy and comforting and nostalgic thoughts on Dragon Quest. Now let's get to some cutthroat, argumentative, backstabbing thoughts on Dragon Quest, because it's time to draft. Now, as usual, we're drafting teams of 8. And we're following specific rules and categories that are probably overcomplicated, but I'm designing this, so you.
Well, it's good to know we can curse on this podcast.
I'll have the Chocobo Work soundbite at the ready, or maybe I should change that to a Dragon Quest casting or something instead of our usual bleeping noise. We'll figure it out. But anyway, there are 8 categories that will require a little bit of explanation, so let me go into those. 8 positions. 1, hero, a main hero from any Dragon Quest game. 1, companion, which is a human party member from a Dragon Quest game. 1, monster, any generic monster character from a Dragon Quest game. 1, job, with the idea that you're, picking up a generic person out of the tavern in Dragon Quest III or Dragon Quest IX, and they are getting a job from a classic Dragon Quest game. One villain, which is a named important bad guy from a Dragon Quest game. It doesn't have to be the final boss necessarily, but just a named unique villain rather than a recurring random battle monster. Then you get 2 flexes. And a flex can be a second or third companion, a second or third monster, or a second or third job, but not a second hero or a second villain. And so that's 7 positions, including 2 flexes. And the final position is the super flex, similar to flex from previous episodes. A super flex can be any named character from any Square game, NX game, or Square NX game. So those are the 8 positions that we are drafting for. You can draft them in any order that you want, but once someone has been drafted, no one else can draft that character. And we can play fast and loose with some categories, like Saber from Dragon Quest V could be a monster or a companion, reasonably. Or same thing with Lizzie from Dragon Quest VI. But that's why we have, flexibility in those flex categories. So we basically understand what the categories are and what the rules are.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So snake draft format. Before we started recording, we decided on an order randomly, and the order is going to be Rob, then Wes, then myself, then Zach, and then so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, then 4, 3, 2, 1 in reverse order. So Rob, you have the first pick of the draft. Who is the number 1 overall pick?
I'm going to do it. It shows probably one of my favorite Dragon Quest games. I think it's the hero that everybody's going to want at some point. I am picking the hero from Dragon Quest V.
All right.
You're talking about a guy who can tame monsters, a guy who helps sire the actual heroes who will defeat the big bad. The turban just looks outstanding. Just his whole journey makes it so that he is the hero for Dragon Quest, in my opinion.
I don't know if we've ever seen such a powerful turban, cloak, staff combination in video games.
It's hard to argue, really.
It's a brilliant fashion choice and a brilliant journey that he takes. I think we're all Dragon Quest V here, 5 fans here, right?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Right,
if you don't like Dragon Quest V, it's like,
what are you doing?
Get out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's such a unique hero in the oeuvre of Dragon Quest in general, and I like all the time travel stuff with him. And one of my greatest disappointments was that he wasn't a costume change available in Smash Brothers, but I understand because he uses a staff instead of a sword. But I was still sad about it.
He does show up in the final Smash, at least. That's something.
That's true. Yes.
Which is also mirrors my disappointment why you can't really properly play as Proto Man in that game. But again, he shows up in one of Mega Man's final Smashes. But we're not here for Mega Man. We're here for Dragon Quest. And Wes, you are now on deck for the second pick of the draft.
There is one and only one character that I need in order to make sure that my team is what it needs to be, and that is the Tsarina Elena from Dragon Quest IV, the one and only choice.
Boo.
For pick number 1.
That was my choice.
Oh, wow.
I knew someone was going to get it. I'm so glad I got there.
or one of your choices, because Zach, you're going to have 2 picks in a row shortly. But yeah, Elena is I think a rough approximation of a martial artist class from Dragon Quest III, because all the DQ4 characters are basically a DQ3 job. But she's one of the most kick-ass ones. She gets critical hits so often once she's leveled up a little bit. She rules.
I'm a sucker for this archetype where they give you a character that you think, looking at the design, is going to be one thing, and then it's something completely different. You see this princess character in what looks like almost a witch's hat, and you know she's going to be the main character, and first thing she says is, "No, I'm going to a martial arts tournament."
I thought my game was glitched. I was like, wait, she's wearing a magic hat. Why is she not? She's not flinging spells. Is something wrong here? I was about ready to text Sollosi and ask what was going on.
Yeah, why does the magic girl have 0 MP? That's weird. Oh, she's just annihilating everything.
The absolute top of the top.
When we talk about Dragon Quest IV next week, I'm sure Alana will have some thoughts on Elena.
I'm sure.
Only one letter apart from the names there, and that's not even the 20th time I'm going to tell that joke. All right, well, I guess we're up to the third pick in the draft now. It's my turn, and I should have thought ahead a little bit more than this. But I am going for a human party member slot and picking Sylvando from Dragon Quest XI.
So many people crying out.
I love Sylvando. He is the ultimate morale boost for any party, and he's also just really good in combat, of course. But mostly, he is just sort of the signature character from a really great cast in Dragon Quest XI. I love Sylvando. Well, so far, we're picking incredible fan favorites here: Dragon Quest V hero, Elena, Sylvando. I mean, very, very beloved trio to start off the draft.
They were the top 3 on my board. All gone. All gone.
Whoops.
Shouldn't have gone last, I guess.
But and yeah, how do you guys build your Sylvando in Dragon Quest XI? Because you can do a bunch of different things with him. You can use daggers, whips, 2 swords, sword and shield. But I like giving him 2 swords just to maximize his style points for all of those style skills he can use, like Hustle Dance.
Yep, that's what I did. I made him a little bit more of a support in my second playthrough, but yeah, that I made sure that Hustle Dance saved my ass more than once.
Oh yeah, against that octopus every time.
Yep.
He's the only healer you need for like 90% of the encounters. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, what's his biggest drawback? Sometimes he has MP problems if you use his best skills a ton, but I mean, he's Sylvando. I can't say a rude word about him at all. It's a struggle.
Nope.
But speaking of struggles, Zach, you have 2 picks in a row now because you're at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round, and we have annihilated your big board, I guess.
You have. Top
Good
3,
luck.
all gone.
So who's your first pick of the draft?
This is going to take me a second. I think I'm going to start with a job. The best job in the game, which in many of the games, which is hero.
Ooh,
Heck of a pick.
I mean, he can do everything. The hero can do everything. It's an excellent job. And my second pick is also going to be a job, but I just feel like it's a jack of all trades. Does all the things.
You know, any character can be a hero for the hero job in Dragon Quest 6 and 7. So I thought about disallowing this, but I think as the commissioner, I think I'm going to let it through. Sure, a hero is a valid job choice here. So
Can we just say luminary?
Luminary and hero are different jobs in different games. Luminary is sort of the Dragon Quest IX evolution of the Pop Idol job, but hero is a distinct job all its own in Dragon Quest 6 and 7. And hero is not even the biggest, the most powerful offensive or magic job in 7. It's sort of its own unique jack of all trades, ultimate healing thing. Yeah, so the first Zach's first pick is hero, and you said you were picking another job for your second?
I am, which you just referred to. I'm gonna pick up champion or God Hand from Dragon Quest VII, which is just totally busted. I mean, like basically your best team is almost always like 1 hero and then 3 champions because they just do insane amounts of damage. So going all offense here.
Right, it's Champion in the 3DS version and God Hand in the PS1 version, and it's basically the combination of every single good offensive job in that game. Champion is pretty busted. It's the only reason you don't have 4 champions is because maybe you kind of want someone with multi-heal or omni-heal or Kazing in there, right?
Yep, you got to throw a Sage in there at some point.
All right, so 2 jobs back to back for Zach's job slot and his first flex slot in the beginning of round 2. So now it's my turn again. I think I'm going to go with my hero pick now, and I'm going with the Dragon Quest VIII hero.
That's fair. That's fair.
Choice.
Yeah. Good pick.
He's real good. He's good with swords and spears. He gets the Dragon Soul skill, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, and his marriage options are maybe better than the ones in Dragon Quest V.
Hard flex right there.
But also Dragon Quest VIII was not the first Dragon Quest game I finished, but it was maybe the one that got me the most excited to play Dragon Quest again. Because I sort of got back into Dragon Quest after trying a bunch of NES ones right around when 8 came out, and I even played Dragon Quest V for the first time in less than a year before 8 came out. So I consider playing 5 and 8 back to back my Dragon Quest re-renaissance. So I have a lot of affection for 8, even though I've only beaten it twice, once on PS2 and once on 3DS.
It was my first Dragon Quest. I played that while I was a sophomore in college.
Yeah, that's around when I think I was a freshman in college, so around the same time. But Wes, it's your turn. It doesn't matter what year in college you were when you played Dragon Quest VIII. But you have everything in the Dragon Quest world minus 6 characters and jobs to choose from.
Well, there are 2 and only 2 characters that I need to make sure that my Dragon Quest party is the ultimate Dragon Quest party. And my number 2 pick is my monster slot. I need a Slime Knight desperately in my life.
Oh, I thought about a Slime Knight.
Excellent choice.
I thought about a Slime Knight
Okay.
not 2 minutes ago.
My absolute favorite Dragon Quest monster of all time, hands down, no questions.
It's unfair that they are so easy to recruit in Dragon Quest V, and they should never leave your wagon the entire game. They're just they can equip Metal King equipment and like give you full heal once they gain a couple levels. They're so reliable in DQ5. Like once you get the wagon, that getting a Slime Knight is your first move.
The hero of the monster world.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, but that means Lionheart is still on the table. Ooh.
For now.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that out loud.
See how many Slime Knights I can get in here.
All right, so Rob, you have now 2 choices in a row for the end of the second, beginning of the third round.
Oh boy. Okay. Human party member. I got to be honest. I thought we were going in order, like all of us were picking a hero. So I was
Nope.
I was a little surprised, but that's on me.
Does everyone have to draft a quarterback in the first round of a fantasy draft?
Okay. No, that's fair. I said it was on me. That's my fault.
Right. I wasn't attacking you.
Or I probably would have gone after Sylvando pretty early. So, human party member. I had to think about this because, unfortunately, I do think that sometimes the party members in Dragon Quest games can you can kind of forget about them sometimes, and I think a lot of that has to do with maybe the older games being purely text-based or not relying on the party chat feature to learn all about the characters. But the one who stands out in my mind, he was just always my buddy, no matter what. He was always there for the gov. I'm going with Yangus, human party member.
Oh, I love
Wonderful.
Yangus.
That is just Yangus was. I think in a lot of ways, Yangus was the heart and soul of Dragon Quest VIII. Again, that was my first Dragon Quest. I think the English dubbing on that game is so damn good, and it just sounds great. It adds to the whole mystique of the game, and having this, oh, cool, blimey, like this just cockney dude just talking like that the whole way, amazing.
It blows my mind a little bit that the original Japanese release of Dragon Quest VIII didn't have the orchestral soundtrack or the English language voiceover, because I think those are like 2 of the crucial components of that game.
Mm-hmm. Especially for Yangus, yeah.
I would agree.
I mean, for how rough and Angus is, and for how cool Angelo's British accents are, those are just endemic to the DQ8 experience. But Rob, that isn't your only pick right now, because you get 2 in a row, and Yangus was the first.
I think I'm gonna get goofy. I think I'm gonna get a little goofy, but you gotta hear me out on this one, okay? I'm gonna go with a monster party member, and I'm going to pick a Metal King Slime.
It's an excellent choice.
Now my reasoning here is that if I take this party into combat, everybody's gonna be focused on that Metal King Slime. So he's going to take all the punishment, and he's going to be really hard to kill, right? So then the rest of my party can just decimate everybody.
And Yangus can learn heal, and healing that Metal King Slime for 25 HP is basically 100%, right?
Mm-hmm. So I will have a very hard party to kill.
In Dragon Quest VIII, the best monster team is almost always the best Metal Slime you can get, an okay healer, and then the best offensive monster you can get, which is why it's like Cure Slime, Hell Gladiator, Metal King Slime is sort of the ultimate party in that game. So you're going with the classic tank healer DPS strategy here.
That's what I decided to go for. I think it's served me well most of the time, so I'm very happy with my choices so far.
We also 100% of the chosen drafted monsters are slimes, so we'll see if that trend continues, because I have at least 1 or 2 slimes on my list I'm considering. But Wes, you could draft another slime, or you could draft almost anything else, because you've been going with party member slots for your first 2 choices. What is your draft choice number 3?
Oh, it's such an open field, but I kept telling myself there were 3 and only 3. No, I'm not going to do this every time. I think it's about time to fill in that villain slot, since no one else has gotten there yet.
Damn it.
And I think for me, I got to pull Dual Magus for it.
Oh,
I knew it. I knew it was going to get someone.
I was deciding between Metal King Slime or Dual Magus.
I was thinking about drafting a villain soon. Probably not for my first 2 picks, but that was not the one I was looking at. So you'll find more about that very soon. But let's talk about
my other
Duel Magus.
choice might have been lining up with yours. I have some suspicions.
Perhaps, but let's talk about Duel Magus a little bit. He's the main antagonist for the first half of Dragon Quest VIII, and he's a real sinister, dark presence that you're sort of like dealing with all the suffering he leaves in his wake for the first third or half of Dragon Quest VIII. He's a pretty cool villain, and he's eminently hateable because he murders the beloved family of a couple important characters.
What I love about Duel Magus is that he's so present, like the entire game. You know, he's not just there as a rumor, even though he starts out as a rumor. But you know, you see evidence of him. You see him in flashbacks. You see him taunting you. He's throughout the game, which isn't always the case in Dragon Quest games. A lot of times, it's just something distant to get to the final castle at the end of the game. But Duel Magus is up in there.
But are you going full Jester Duel Magus or slightly fuzzy demonic Duel Magus?
I think I have to go full Jester, even if he's less powerful, just for the pure style points. The style of having a Jester.
Okay, never mind. I was gonna say something, and now I'm not going to. I'm gonna be very quiet.
Rob is being very cautious, worried that someone else might decimate his big board.
Just bring more up.
Wes has been luckier than Zach or Rob in terms of their early choices getting stolen.
My heart is not broken yet.
Mine neither. There are some picks that I definitely would have loved to have later in the draft, but I can't be too upset because I do have 2 characters I'd love to start out. I think I'm also going villain just on the off chance that Zach takes him. I'm taking Sorrow from Dragon Quest IV.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's one of the most maybe the most pathos of any Dragon Quest villain. He does join your party in some versions of Dragon Quest IV and is just absolutely kick ass when he does. Plus he looks so cool.
Is he just Magus? Can we just say that he's Magus lost in like a timeline or something like that?
He kind of is a warrior version of Chrono Trigger Magus. I'm not going to argue that.
Is he also in Chrono Cross?
Are we choosing him because, like, out of all the boss battles, he's the one where, like, he evolves over the course of the final boss battle, right? It's been a long time since I played Dragon Quest IV, right?
A couple boss battles do, but he does a lot. He has, like, 4 or 5 transformations he goes through. He gains heads and eyes as the boss battle takes place.
That was one of the most infuriating final boss fights. Like, you know, Dragon Quest games can be difficult, but, you know, you level up enough, you're totally fine. I ran completely out of MP and items in that fight, and I was just like, this thing is going forever. This is like a Yakuza Like a Dragon fight. You know, it just keeps going.
The one thing nice about that one is you can summon your wagon in the road right before you fight him, so you can get you can get your wagon backup party members heal you a little bit. In advance of Sorrow. That's something that I didn't realize the first time I played Dragon Quest IV, and then when I played it on DS, I'm like, oh, could you do this on the NES? Holy smoke! Well, that made this last fight a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, and he's the one with the most backstory. He's the most. Yes. I mean, like he feels like the most like I don't know. He feels like in some ways the least Dragon Quest villain, but like in some ways like he's the most fascinating because of his backstory and because of that post game that you get in the DS version. I think he's an excellent choice.
Was the chicken and egg stuff and his backstory in the PS1 version of Dragon Quest IV? I do
in the NES version.
No. PS1. It had a PS1 port in Japan.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. You know the PS1 port of Dragon Warrior 4 was advertised in like the manual of Dragon Warrior 7, but then the project
I remember that. Yeah.
The project got abandoned.
They had advertised that, and I believe the PS2 version of Dragon Quest V both had like call-outs in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was either in a manual or in a very early magazine advertisement, but it was at least on the docket somewhere on a North American localization studio. But we're not on the docket of a North American localization studio. I am trying to get through a video game-themed fantasy draft before the clock hits 2 hours. So, Zach, give us 2 picks in a row. End of 3rd round, beginning of 4th round.
So I think for my villain, since you took mine, I'm going to go with my second choice, which is
Nocturnus.
So
possessive. Oh, Nocturnus for the post-game boss from Dragon Quest VI.
Yes. He is... Outside of some of the stuff in Dragon Quest VIII, where you can, like, do like that run of bosses, and one of the people who's also on my list is very difficult there. He's like the toughest, and like I feel like the most like enigmatic of all the post game bosses or the bosses in general. Like he's like this like ultimate evil that's sort of like sitting off here to the side, and like you're like avoiding him. I love the way they set him up early in the game. When you travel to it, and you're like, oh my god, you run away immediately, and that it's just like a really really challenging fight. And I feel like he's the most powerful of any villain in Dragon Quest. So I'm going to take Nocturnus.
There's one other Dragon Quest villain that I think is in that same zone, and that's Astark from Dragon Quest IV. Because
choice of mine.
but both Astark and Nocturnus are like mentioned as ultimately powerful demons in the text of their game, but also having accomplished their evil like hundreds of years ago. So in Dragon Quest VI, you can unseal Nocturnus and then fight him in the post-game, but for Astark, you fight a weakened version of him that's been weakening for centuries. So, like, in Dragon Quest meta lore, they are two of the most powerful monsters, bar none, for sure. And if you're maybe a Dragon Quest Monsters fan, sometimes you might have seen versions of Nocturnus called Dark Dream, which is his Japanese name. But yeah, Nocturnus, really, really cool monster design, really, really good choice for a named villain slot for our draft here.
Yeah, and so for my hero, I'm going to go with maybe a somewhat off the beaten path choice, which is the descendant of Erdrick from Dragon Quest 1.
Nothing wrong with that. That dude's a monster.
Right. I mean, like, he solos the whole game. Like, he doesn't need anybody else. He doesn't have any party support. He literally goes and fights all the monsters himself. He fights the Dragon Lord by himself. He doesn't need any help. He's got the healing. He's got the offense. Like, he didn't need anybody else. So, if I'm going to have someone, it's going to be him.
What's your favorite spell that he casts? Harm or heal?
Oh, definitely heal. I don't really use harm that much. I use heal a lot, though.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against the original.
It's pretty good.
He looks like a tiny, cute little Viking man in the original art for Dragon Quest 1.
It's like almost like a judge from like Final Fantasy 12. I like it.
He's got kind of like an angry face, almost like, but his eyes don't have a lot of definition. Almost like Krillin in Dragon Ball, but with a little horned helmet on. In later interpretations of him, they give him like a shock of blonde hair, so he goes from looking like Krillin to looking like a Super Saiyan, and I don't totally love that. I'm talking about games like Arcade Battle Road Victory, but Dragon Quest 1, great hero, undeniable. But oh shoot, it's my turn now, isn't it?
You're up.
Yep, we are in the fourth round. I've chosen a hero and a villain and one party member, so I have a lot of freedom still. I am going to pick the Sage job.
Damn it!
Excellent choice.
I have no healer.
There's really 3 good jobs, and you picked the third one.
Or you could go with Summoner Druid from Dragon Quest VII, or struggling now. Maybe there's some Armamentalist fans out there. But Sage is in Dragon Quest 3. It's sort of the ultimate magic job, and in Dragon Quest 6, 7, 9, it's an almost ultimate magic job that can heal and have powerful offense. I don't know. Let's see, what else can I say about it? Rab for Dragon Quest 11 is basically a Sage, and he's great too. But yeah, I'm sort of thinking of the just strong, versatile Dragon Quest 3 version of Sage, and yeah, it's ultimate magic user, mostly.
I mean, I think that's an excellent choice. Sage, I feel like in any Dragon Quest game is almost like a required class, but like if you're going to do high-end stuff, you definitely need a Sage to keep you upright.
If you don't use a Sage in Dragon Quest 3 for the end game, I maybe you're trying to do some kind of gimmicky no Sage run, because you do get a free Satori to recruit a Sage in the second half. Right?
Yes, you do. I don't remember exactly where it happens, but you get the opportunity just to turn anybody into a Sage.
Yeah.
And you're just hobbling yourself if you don't.
Right, yeah. Okay, I wasn't misremembering that. It's been a long time since I've played Dragon Quest 3. At least 15 years.
There are technically 2 free ones, I believe, and the second one comes so late that a lot of times it's not worth it.
Oh, yeah, it's either like Final Dungeon or a Pachisi board or something.
Yeah, I think it's like just prior to the final dungeon or something like that.
Yeah, but you get one in the middle of the game, and if you leveled up a goof-off / minstrel, you can get a free Sage.
Don't spoil my job.
Oh no. Well, no. Technically, I mean, you're not stealing from me because I already got Sylvando, which is who's like the ultimate version of one of those. But Wes, it is your turn, and so far you've picked a villain and two party member slots, so you still have a lot of options ahead of you.
You mentioned that there are some Armamentalist fans out there.
Wow.
You weren't wrong.
Oh, wow.
My pick number 4 is Armamentalist.
Is this a joke? I feel like I'm in the middle of a bit.
So are you going with the Dragon Quest 6-7 Armamentalist that's kind of like a Magic Knight that, or are you going with GQ9 Armamentalist that attaches elemental affinities to everyone's attacks?
DQ9, I'm a sucker for buff classes. I'm a sucker for Magic Knights or Red Mages, that style of character. I don't know. It's not about efficacy. It's about style.
And they do have those stylish FF Red Mage hats and those elemental attacks. But plus, Armamentalist skills are really, really handy for a couple boss fights in Dragon Quest IX. I think it depends on what Grotto boss I'm fighting, but sometimes you really need those. I think they're called Force spells that are kind of like a mana game saber spell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're really effective against the right boss fights sometimes.
It's nice that they can throw down the buffs and debuffs and still have something useful to do once they're done with that job, which is something I find enjoyable. Even if it's not the most effective, it's fun to play with, and that's my style. My team will not win, but people will like my team.
I mean, people will like your team, but you have Dual Magus creeping people out there on the sideline? Really?
He's our mascot.
Sure, okay. He's there for moral support.
He gets into dance-offs with the other mascots.
Yeah, Dual Magus Sylvando dance-off. No, even better. Dual Magus Sylvando Yangus dance-off. I can't even pick a winner there.
Absolute perfection.
It's pretty good.
Because Yangus does have that unbeatable underpants dance. Silence.
He's on my quad.
Everyone was just in awe for a second.
Right. Well, Rob, it is your turn. So who is going to be underpants dancing alongside Yangus? You get 2 choices in a row. End of the 4th round, beginning of the 5th.
Okay. Has everybody picked a villain? Because I just want to see if my villain pick is safe.
Everyone has picked a villain. But
yeah, so okay.
But
okay,
we could use the super flex spot on a second villain, but that's very unlikely. People are probably going to get weird in the Square Enix universe for the super flex. So
we're going to get weird.
So you probably can save the villain for late, yes.
I'm going to save the villain. My flex is I'm picking specifically Super Serena from Dragon Quest XI.
Oh.
Because
right.
In terms of party members, at that point in the game, Serena is the best party member. She does everything. She can do monstrous damage. She can heal everybody. She has endless MP. So I'm picking Super Serena. That takes care of my lack of a Sage class. Everything's fine now.
All right, yeah. Avoiding spoilers. In Act 2, Serena, who's until then your main healer, basically... her spell list doubles, and she gets a bunch of extra powers for the middle portion of Dragon Quest XI, and she really is your strongest party member, probably more powerful than the Luminary himself during Act 2.
Yep, she is amazing. That's why I picked her. Don't really need a job. I almost want to give it up at this point. Okay, I'm gonna do my villain pick. Since Dual Magus was taken from me, I decided to one-up Dual Magus. And so I'm going with Leopold, the evil dog that has been corrupted by the staff.
Excellent choice.
Because
yes.
I'm looking at the design of Leopold right now, and it might be the best character design they've ever done.
Yeah, the giant hound with giant demon wings with the evil staff in his mouth. And Leopold was already a very unlikable dog, a rare thing in video games, before gaining evil powers. This feels like 100 years ago, but in 2017 or 2018, we did a Good Dogs of RPGs episode, and we decided that the only bad dog in RPGs we could think of was Leopold.
and that's why he's on my team. And I remember how goofy it was, because, first time ever playing a Dragon Quest game, I was like, I beat Dual Magus, the game is over. And then all of a sudden, the staff goes to this dog, and now I have a dog to deal with. I have to pick him. Like, I looked up his character design again, and I just remembered how amazing he was.
Yeah, it was really unexpected, and that sort of cemented the idea that, oh, Dual Magus isn't the final boss here, it's whatever is controlling or inside that staff.
That's why I picked him.
Minor spoilers for a game that is 16 years old, so yeah, come at me.
I think we're okay.
Spoiler haters. I got yelled at on Twitter for spoiling Dragon Quest VII once, which I think had come out 18 years earlier. So,
did you just say it was long?
Is
that just what you said?
Spoil it.
No, I mean, the main villain in that game is a demon called Orgo Damila, and I sort of talked about what he does in the second half of the game, which would be a spoiler, but that game came out in 2000, and this happened in like 2018, so I was very, very eye rolling at the person that called that out. It's like you had 18 years to play this game. Shut up.
You still have the best description ever of Dragon Quest VII, which is, It is the most Dragon Quest. I don't know if it's the best Dragon Quest.
It is pretty good Dragon Quest, but it is also the most Dragon Quest.
It is the most Dragon Quest. And that's the reason why the franchise has this, like, a lot of our friends, as Sollosi will tell you, a lot of our friends are like, oh, those games are too long. And I'm like, no, they're really not. Like, Dragon Quest XI is very long, but, like, 8 is pretty manageable. 4, 5, 6, pretty reasonable, like, lengths. Like, not anything out of control. It's all Dragon Quest VII's fault.
Yeah. If Dragon Quest ever developed a reputation for being overlong, it's from 7 and not anything else, because they're either short or medium, other than 7, and I guess later 11. And I think you could probably beat 11 in less than 100 hours, but I had to collect a bunch of skill points and hit a bunch of crossbow targets, so I cracked 100 hours on that thing.
The original version of 7 just had that pacing, that like first 3 hours that I think knocked everyone on their butts.
Yeah, that's about right.
It depends on what version you're playing, and
the original, the PS1 version.
Yeah, and if you know what to do in advance, but you can play that thing for 4 or 5 hours before running into a blue slime fight magic item run. But, Wes, that little blue slime is available if you want to use one of your flex spots now. But right now it is your pick, and you've, again, only have a villain and a couple party member slots taken, so most of the world is your oyster.
I'm going to go wild card and use my super flex early.
Whoa, for the first time in Retro Encounter Fantasy Draft history, someone is using their flex or super flex
I don't like where this is going.
Round 8.
I don't like where this is going.
I've already made it clear that I like the style. I like things to fit together cohesively. And Square Enix just so happens to have at least one other like big name RPG series or RPG with Akira Toriyama sitting at the head of it.
Damn it!
Oh no!
You might not have to worry too much because for me it's Frog all the way. It can't be anyone but Frog.
Frog from
joining my team.
You know, maybe this just reveals that I should have gotten glasses at a much earlier age. But when I was a child and I saw the Chrono Trigger characters' victory animations for the first time, I basically understood everyone's. But what Frog is doing is pulling out his arm and making a giant muscle. But
yes.
I thought he was pulling out a white hat with a blue feather on it for a while.
He's doing what you might consider a super flex in that pose.
That is true. That Frog is flexing, and you just flexed Frog as your super flex.
I know. Once again, I know that there are technically better professional choices here, but I can't leave my boy Frog behind.
Yeah, you just love fighters with some healing on the side, other than Elena.
This way, I don't have to have any healers. I can just have everyone heal a little bit and then get back in the fight.
And Elena is amassing quite a team of boyfriends as well.
Oh yeah, it's her party. She's making the choices. I'm just here for the ride.
All right. Well, I guess now it's my turn. I still have most of my party to fill out. I am not going to use my super flex in round 5. But let's see. I think I do want to pick a monster now.
Oh no. And
I am going with my all-time favorite Dragon Quest monster, the Great Dragon from Dragon Quest V.
No.
Okay.
That golden yellow dragon with a bunch of fire and ice breath. They cannot equip. I think they can't equip a shield, which still annoys me. Almost 20 years after playing the game for the first time. But yeah, I love those big yellow great dragons, and so I'm securing one for this pick.
I've never gotten one in a Dragon Quest V run, which I thought, you know what? Today is the day I'm going to finally get a great dragon. Nope. Today was not the day.
Continue to be robbed.
Remarkably, I have always gotten one. I got one by accident the very first time I played the game, and then every single subsequent time I've played it, which is, I guess, 4 times total, I've thought, well, man, I got to get a great dragon again. So I sort of didn't grind the first time, but then have grinded for one every subsequent time, because I love the great dragon so much.
I would comment more, but I don't know because I've never had one.
Oh wow! This is maybe the spiciest draft we've had on the podcast so far.
Salty.
But Zach, you do have 2 picks in a row, even though neither of them can be the Great Dragon.
Yeah.
You still have but you still have a monster slot, a companion slot, and 2 flexes remaining.
So I'm going to go with the monster that was really my MVP in Dragon Quest V, which is the Golem.
Oh,
Okay.
Excellent.
It's a good one.
It's a classic design. I think it's maybe outside of the slime, which is so iconic that it barely even qualifies. I love the Golem's design. I love how it's been maintained from Dragon Quest 1 to Dragon Quest 11, but it's also like the best tank in Dragon Quest 5. Like, it's easy to recruit, like Slime Knight easy to recruit. It does massive damage, and it's easy to maintain. And like every time I've done Dragon Quest V, like I've had a golem in my party, and I anticipate that will probably continue because I know officially now that I will never get a great dragon.
You can get one in the terrible Dragon Quest gacha game that I'm playing, and I do indeed have a great dragon in that game.
No, I think I'll pass.
I think that's the right choice. But that's only your first pick of 2 that you. We're at the beginning of the 6th round now. So who else are you choosing, Zach?
So for a companion, I'm going to go back to Dragon Quest V, and I'm going to go with Pankraz.
Oh,
nice.
Father of the Year Pankraz, originally called Papas.
It's a good pick.
I mean, he is everything you want from a Dragon Quest character. He's noble, he's kind, he's tough in battle. I feel like his... again, spoilers for how old is this game? 30 years old. Spoilers for a 30-year-old game. His death scene is affecting and emotional. He has this incredible dedication to the love of his life and his child. He's obviously like the only thing that carries you in battle early in that game. Pankraz is amazing. One of my favorite characters in Dragon Quest.
Mine too. That scene was a gut punch the first time you experience it. And one of the better scenes in the troubling Dragon Quest V movie adaptation.
Indeed.
You mean the movie that's 90% amazing?
Yeah.
That's way more generous than I am.
That movie is really cool until it isn't.
Yes.
I think it's very uncool very quickly.
That movie needed the last 20 minutes cut off and like the rest of that put into Pankraz. And then I would have been fine with that. The movie a lot better.
We did do a podcast on that movie, and we really shouldn't talk about that movie anymore right now because that'll put a damper on the fun of this draft, I'm afraid.
Give people a chance to see it.
Yes. The movie is called Dragon Quest: Your Story. It is on Netflix in most English-speaking territories, and it sure is a movie.
That's one way to put it.
But it sure is my turn to draft right now, and right now I have all of my flex positions open, so I can draft basically any kind of party member, if I'm willing to use the super flex on a second hero or something, which I'm not. So I think I am going to go with. I'm gonna go back into the Dragon Quest VIII well and draft Jessica.
Damn it! So you drafted my wife. Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Your wife is a hell of a lady, Rob, and her video game version is also a hell of a lady.
That is true.
I think she's my favorite party member in Dragon Quest VIII because just because of how cool and sassy she is, and how much ass she can kick with her powerful spells. I think she learns basically all of the offensive magic in Dragon Quest, other than lightning spells, and the whip version has Twin Dragon Lash, which is super dope. I like Jessica a lot, and she's one of my flex picks. So, Wes, it's your turn. You still have multiple flexes and the hero position left to draft.
I do indeed. And you know what? I was just thinking about how I do not have enough kick-ass martial arts women in my party. So I really need to bump that number up. So I'm going to add Jade from Dragon Quest XI to my party.
Choice.
Nice.
There she goes. The Dragon Quest XI version of the martial artist job. And, you know, I'm going to let you talk, Wes, but one thing I love that they did with Jade is they made martial arts like a separate category.
Yes.
So you can do Spear Jade and still have kick-ass kicks, or Claw Jade and have kick-ass kicks. You didn't like have to have her built a certain way for a lot of her awesome martial arts moves that I definitely wanted to invest in. But basically, I think her skill tree is just as awesome as she is.
Exactly. She carried my party all the time. She was one of the few who I never wanted gone. She's part of Electrolyte, which is vital grinding tech for everyone.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you know, like you said, I absolutely love that I can still have her do martial arts with a spear because her spear tree is absolutely killer. She will outdamage all the people with that. So I use it more or less exclusively, but she still feels properly like that martial artist character, even if I don't have her with claws.
Yeah, she was one of my favorites in Dragon Quest XI also. But that's a little bit of a lie because kind of everyone in Dragon Quest XI is my favorite.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out.
I just...
do we really like Veronica except for the one scene?
You know, I do like Veronica.
I love Veronica.
She's a little bit of an annoying little kid sometimes, but I really like her in Act 3. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with a big meaty kafrizz thrown at a slime.
Frizz!
Little girl, giant staff, giant fireball. What's not to love?
Actual magician. Okay.
Kafrizzle, Kazapple. The spell names in Dragon Quest games are a little ridiculous at times, but I justify it all in my diseased gamer brain. But Rob, what new choices are going to spring forth from your gamer brain? You have two in a row.
So I think for my flex, I don't have two in a row, do I?
You do have two in a row. Yep.
I do have two in a row. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you still have one normal flex, one super flex, and a Dragon Quest job. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the job, I'm gonna get stupid because again, the jobs in Dragon Quest games aren't really all that great. I'm gonna pick the pirate from Dragon Quest VII because that's gonna make leveling very easy with thin air over and over again. Everybody did it. Don't pretend like you didn't do it.
Thin air is good as hell in a lot of Dragon Quest games, and that's how you get it in Dragon Quest VII. Mm-hmm.
So whoever is my pirate is just going to be like making sure that everybody else is leveling up at a solid rate. That's your job. You're the workhorse. So
the pirate's interesting because it doesn't have like a great physical offense like a warrior or gladiator job, but it has a bunch of just cool skills that are situationally awesome.
And you get a little pirate hat.
Yeah, and you get a little pirate hat. That's true.
That's worth a lot.
That is crucial. Mm-hmm.
You get a little pirate hat. For my flex, because I always want to be rolling in money, I'm going to pick Torneco.
Yes.
We need him to make money for us. We need him to. I think he has a great story. We've got a whole dungeon series that we can go down the rabbit hole with him, and he's going to sell stuff and make us lots of money. So, you know, it was him, but unfortunately, Square Enix never published a Resident Evil game, or I was going to say The Merchant from Resident Evil 4. But Torneco is like the prototype version of that.
You know, we're going to talk about his chapter next week, I'm 100% certain, but he sort of taught me at a young age that, just being a shop owner in an RPG is surprisingly fun.
Yeah, no, he taught me the value of fiscal responsibility, and for that, I want him on my team.
Sometimes you want a little bit of weaponized capitalism in your video games.
Damn. Okay, that just took a turn. Okay.
Hey,
all right.
I have look. I have spent so many hours in the business sim mini games of Yakuza games that I have nothing but respect for weaponized, irresponsible RPG capitalism.
I would like to give a shout out to Sollosi for basically explaining that management sim game to me like a dragon, because the first time I played that,
you did the same thing for me.
There was a lot of swearing, and I got a little dizzy. So like, that's not a good sign. I think I almost had a stroke.
Yeah,
getting vertigo from this.
I wish I had someone to have a text chain with to explain to me that, because that would have saved me a couple hours in the mid game of Yakuza 7 when I played it last year.
Didn't you clear it in the chapter that it opened? cleared?
Yes, I did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, I cleared a bunch of it, and then I took a break and recruited some people around town, and then went back to it, and then repeated that again, but still cleared it in Chapter 5. But maybe
He's a wrecking machine!
Maybe my destiny is just to be a government employee in real life, and then a business magnate in video games. But Wes, it looks like that unless you really love Dragon Quest III merchants, most of the irresponsible money throwing of Dragon Quest is not available to you. What's your draft for round number 7?
I'm just glad Torneko ended up somewhere. He was going to end up with me if he didn't end up with you because he deserves it.
I'm taking care of him.
I'm glad. I just care that he's happy. But for me, I've got that one last flex spot. I don't have enough martial artists, so I'm going to bring Mori in with some claws to round out my party.
So much tension.
I was skeptical about him being one of the characters added to the 3DS version of Dragon Quest VIII, but then all of that skepticism was gone.
Just melts.
When you see how passionate he is, and that he brings another critical hit attack to the team for medal hunting.
He is vital. And I loved Mori as a character already. That is exactly my style of ridiculous character that I want out of the Dragon Quest series. You let me put one in my party, I'm even happier.
Yeah, we got a lot of good mustaches in this already, because we have Torneko and Mori and Pankraz. Does this mean I have to draft like Ragnar or something to add to the mustache party?
Yes, Sollosi.
It does.
In fact,
Draft
you need a
Ragnar,
beard.
please do.
You need a
I
beard.
don't know. I'm thinking about it. I could use a beard or a mustache. But also, my party only has one woman in it. I need a little bit. I could use.
Oh, don't make the wrong choice.
My party could be a little bit less of a sausage party. Well, okay, I have 2 flex spots left. One normal flex and one super flex. So, I am going to add a beard to the party, but it's maybe not the beard you're thinking of. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. I'm drafting a Lionheart from Dragon Quest IX. The giant slime knight with a beard and multiple swords. That is just really kick-ass. There's also color versions of it in Dragon Quest IX called Shogun and Prime Slime. They're also pretty cool, but not as cool as the green Lionheart. Other than the Great Dragon, Lionheart's probably my favorite big, meaty, end game kind of monster in a Dragon Quest game. I think it's only in Dragon Quest IX and then the monsters and phone series. There wasn't this Lionheart in 10 or 11, was there?
No.
Not 11 at least.
Yeah, maybe
it might have been in 10.
Might have been in 10. Yeah, I do not know the bestiary of 10 very well at all. But there's a dedicated group of people trying to get a Western release for that thing, so power to them, although I have a lot of doubts.
I have a friend who has a Japanese subscription and is Google translating the entire game as they play it.
That
I cannot
sounds
imagine
like
this
that's a
experience.
struggle. Holy moly.
That's something.
That's dedication.
Yeah, that's dedication that I lack, and I adore Dragon Quest. But speaking of people who adore Dragon Quest, that was the weakest transition of this whole episode. I'm sorry. I feel bad already. But Zach, you do have 2 picks in a row, one normal flex and one super flex.
So, for my normal flex, I want to make the correct choice. It's not Bianca. It's not Mira.
No.
Oh. It's Deborah.
Oh, girl.
Wow.
Deborah's the correct choice. So, for the record, in battle, she is incredibly valuable. I had her in my final party. I had the full family party the last time I cleared it. I pulled my golem out. I'm like, all right, Deborah, you can come on in. She does amazing amounts of damage, and she's also, just like almost every girl I've dated over the last 10 years.
A bad decision?
Strangely personal?
Everything you need to know about me. Deborah's just, she's, in all honesty, she's funny. I feel like it is a totally unique thing in terms of Dragon Quest, getting to choose someone like that who's verbally abusive constantly. I really enjoy having her in my party.
I forget where I read this. It was some kind of interview in advance of around when the DS version was coming out in North America. But Hori said that when they wanted to add a third marriage option, he wanted someone that was totally different from Bianca and Flora / Nera, and so he landed on someone who was not because both Bianca and Nera are sort of sweet, and he was deliberately going for someone that was not modest or sweet, and that's Deborah.
You want to talk about the greatest sin that your story commits? It's not having Deborah in it.
Yes, that's the problem. Okay.
Right, yeah. That was the one crucial issue of your story. But, Zach, you're not done drafting yet. You still have the first pick of round 8.
So, I'm going to go maybe with some like semi-recency bias, but also a character who I feel like just like deserves a break and also like would do well in the Dragon Quest world, and that is Emil from the Nier series.
I knew you were going
Yes.
there. I did not know where you were going within Nier, but I knew you were going Nier. We didn't bet on it, but I could have easily. So let's talk about Emil a little bit.
I mean, like, Emil's not my favorite character from Nier, either the first, which is kind of A, or the second, which is probably A2. But he's just such a sweet character, and he goes through so much over the course of those 2 games, like just like unimaginable pain. And he's still like maintains this like joyful attitude as you meet him in Automata. And I feel like he just deserves to live in like the innocent sort of bubble of Dragon Quest. And he's also like the most powerful character in like the history of the Nier universe, and he would just like totally annihilate everything, and that would also be helpful to me.
But mostly it's for the hugs.
Mostly for the hugs. Yes, that is accurate.
You know, I bought my copy of Nier Replicant just a few days ago, which I guess dates this podcast specifically if you check my social media feed. But I know that Emil is beloved, and I'm not that shocked by this choice.
He's amazing. He fits right into the Dragon Quest universe. Absolutely.
That choice makes me happy.
I'm glad.
So now it's my choice, and my last spot left is Superflex. So there's a lot of ways I could go. I could go with Chrono Trigger, my favorite game of all time. I could go with anything from Final Fantasy, anything from Kingdom Hearts, naturally, right?
So you're gonna pick Goofy. All right, we got
no,
He is getting
no,
goofy
no.
with this one.
All the Disney characters are available too. It's true.
A lot of
I'm
Disney
gonna
characters.
join a Dragon Quest party. Yup.
Right. And if I wanted to go with someone that's just powerful and unkillable, I could just go with Canopus from Tactics Ogre. That counts. No, I think I'm going to pick something that maybe... I don't know how expected this is of me or not. You know, I have a lot of fun people in my party. I have some physical characters, some magic characters, but Wes took a lot of great martial artists. So
You're welcome.
I think I need a martial artist in my team, and that is going to be Kevin from Seiken Densetsu 3.
That was my other choice, actually.
Oh, fine choice.
Yeah, the Wolf Boy. I think he might have showed up in a previous draft episode when we did the Final Fantasy draft. I'd have to look that up to make sure. But I love Seiken Densetsu 3. It was one of my favorite Super Famicom RPGs, even before that the re-release in 2018, 19. Yeah, the re-release in 2019 and then the remake in 2020. So I want my Wolf Boy on the team, and it was either Kevin from Seiken Densetsu 3 or Gabo/Ruff from Dragon Quest 7.
Yeah, I can't believe he's still on the table.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised too. But a lot of people were picking monsters or jobs in for the flex spots. So yeah, he slipped through everyone's fingers. So yeah, Kevin is my final pick. Wes, what is your final pick? You still have a hero.
I have
position.
a hero left.
So you could say that you need a hero.
I could. I absolutely
don't.
could say that.
I won't.
I choose
Good
not
song.
to.
Come on.
It is a good song.
I am drafting not a character for their stats or their equipment or even their game, even though they are for my favorite Dragon Quest game. I am drafting the female hero from Dragon Quest IV for her hair and her hair alone. This glorious hair that she has is the reason that she needs to be in my party.
Sidebar. Can we have a return to like anime hair from the 80s? Like where like what was it? The entire cast of Phantasy Star was like blue. They all had bowl cuts. Like I just want to return to that style of 1980s anime hair, and I approve of this choice.
I mean, like if you want to throw around the term "ladies of the '80s" for specific character designs,
Like, we found it.
Yeah, this is the one. I mean, she's got a sort of a like an '80s aerobics leotard for part of her outfit, with the socks and this incredible volume to that green coif of hers.
It's a hell of a look.
Yeah, it is a look, and
it's asymmetrical too. She's got like her left leg and her left arm are covered for some reason.
Yeah, it's a predecessor to Titus from Final Fantasy X. We're wearing covering only parts of your body in an asymmetrical manner.
Well, I assure you, it's functional. Her left side has the shield. That's what she's defending with, so she needs more cover on that left side. Obviously,
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that I love everything about her character design.
It is so good. I adore it. Unironically adore it.
All right, so that is. Let's see, 31 out of 32 picks that we're making for this episode. So, Rob, it comes to you. You have this. You have the Superflex position left. So, any named character from the entire oeuvre of Square Enix and Square Enix, who is your choice to round out your team?
I gave it away earlier. I was kind of making it funny, and then just the more I thought about it, the better I think it works. I'm going with Agent 47 from the Hitman series. Now let me tell you why.
Fantastic.
Now let me tell you why.
Master of disguise.
Well, first off, the new Hitman games are like secretly some of the best video games that have been made in the past decade. So if you have not played them, please go out and do it. He is a master of disguise. So this idea of Agent 47 wearing all of the Jobs outfits from Dragon Quest or dressing up like all of the monsters from Dragon Quest, it really struck a chord with me. I keep laughing when I think about him looking like a saber cat, just a very intense saber cat. And then no matter what he does, he's amazing at it. So when he becomes like a drummer in a mission in Hitman, he becomes like the best drummer, or he can like strut the runway, so that you have this character that is just able to do everything. I mean, he might be able to give the ultimate puff puff. I'm just saying he can kind of do everything.
Wow. He can provide a better puff puff than competing against teams that include Jade and Jessica.
Yep. And this is also just Sollosi and I have gone to MagFest for years, and I've always said that somebody is missing a cosplay as Agent 47 at a MagFest or at some kind of convention. And the way that they should do it is they should do it as like Agent 47 as like a waiter, and just have 47 like wiping down a table and just staring at one person very intently, like the entire time, just keeping an eye on them, never breaking eye contact, staring awkwardly.
That is how you get the police called on you, for one.
Okay, fair enough.
But just the idea of Agent 47 cosplayers going around photobombing people or showing up in unexpected outfits, that does seem like a genius cosplay move, as long as you aren't literally breaking the law or intimidating people.
Yes, please do not intimidate people. Agent 47 is a force for good and for taking down the patriarchy, so I'm totally down with this.
And somehow, like, his design is so intentionally generic, like a quote-unquote generic for a game that's based on a job system, like Dragon Quest IX, it's like an int becoming so negative that it turns positive. It's like he's so generic that it becomes ungeneric, how generic he is.
Get the swear key ready. My buddy always used to describe it as like, the guards are being super intense looking for Agent 47, and here's this guy, this 6-foot shadiest looking on the planet, but he's dressed up like a mailman, and we're just supposed to expect nothing bad's going to happen. He's got a barcode on the back of his head, for Christ's sake. Here are some flowers for you. Would be a shame if somebody were to step on them, or perhaps not water them.
Like, everyone, the assassin's here. He could be anyone. He could be me. He could be you. Oh, mail's here. Yeah. It's the third door on the left
fine
over there. Yeah. Oh, and here's the key to that office. But yeah, the assassin's here somewhere, people. Yeah,
it could be anywhere.
I mean, it strikes that ideal Yakuza balance of semi-serious when it wants to be and completely ridiculous when it wants to be, and having the seriousness and ridiculousness coexist beautifully. I own one of the recent Hitman games, but I haven't really played any of them yet.
You need to fix that.
That's not the first time you have said that to me, Rob.
I know. One of these days you'll listen to me.
One of these days. But we're near the end of the episode. We've all drafted our teams. So there's one last thing we have to do before we shut the door on the podcast, and that is name our teams. So I maybe I forgot to tell Rob about this in advance, but your team needs a name, and it shall have a name. But first, let's look at what everyone's drafted so far. We have Rob's team. The hero from Dragon Quest V, Yangus from Dragon Quest VIII, a Metal King Slime, a pirate from Dragon Quest VII, Leopold from Dragon Quest VIII, a Serena from Act 2 of Dragon Quest XI, Tornico Talon from Dragon Quest IV, and Agent 47 from the Hitman series. Now we have Wes's team, the hero of Dragon Quest IV, Elena from Dragon Quest IV, the Slime Knight Dragon Quest monster, the Armamentalist from Dragon Quest IX, Dual Magus from Dragon Quest VIII, Jade from Dragon Quest XI, Mori from Dragon Quest VIII, and Frog from Chrono Trigger. Then my team, the hero from Dragon Quest VIII, Sylvando from Dragon Quest XI, the Great Dragon from Dragon Quest V, the Sage from Dragon Quest III, Sorrow from Dragon Quest IV, Jessica from Dragon Quest VIII, the Lionheart from Dragon Quest IX, and Kevin from Seiken Densetsu 3/Trials of Mana. Zach's team is the hero of Dragon Quest I, Pankraz from Dragon Quest V, the Golem from many Dragon Quest games, the hero Job from Dragon Quest VII, my mistake, Nocturnus from Dragon Quest VI, the Champion Job from Dragon Quest VII, Deborah from Dragon Quest V, and Emil from Nier Replicant and Nier Automata. So we have to come up with some team names. I was buying some time for everyone to think of theirs. Does anyone have theirs at the ready yet?
I've got mine.
All right, Wes, what's your team name?
I've got all of these martial artists, so it can really only be the Cobra Claw Dojo.
Cobra Claw or Cobra Kai?
The Cobra Claw Dojo.
Cobra Claw
The weapon from Dragon Quest,
right.
Cobra Claw.
Got it.
We're bringing it all together.
I should have anticipated the reference, but I opened my mouth like a dummy. So Rob or Zach, do you have your team name ready?
Oh man, no, I don't.
I do not, but I think because my team is so kind of silly, I'm going to go with the Simpsons reference, and I'm going to say no, not Simpsons reference, good Family Guy reference. Let me just say good Family Guy before the show went on too long, and I'm going to go with the London Silly Nannies.
London Silly Nannies.
Just because my team is just so eclectic.
And you know what? Because you didn't go with the Simpsons reference, I think I will go with the Simpsons reference because I have
Stonecutters.
No, because I have so many badasses on my team, like Sorrow and Kevin and Slineheart with those big swords, and of course Sylvando. I'm going to go with Bloodbath and Beyond.
Oh my god!
Buy me Bone Stormer. Go to hell.
Bloodbath and Beyond is the gun store in a couple episodes. So, Zach, we still need a team name from you.
Man, I got nothing. I totally forgot about this part. Totally forgot about this part. I am not creative on the spot.
I like that as the team name, just a pained sound.
Okay, 2 seconds of a tortured groan.
That's what we're going with. Tortured groans.
The tortured groans.
We would have also accepted any of Bill Hader's performance as Stefan on Saturday Night Live. We would have been okay with any of that.
So, oh god,
New York's hottest nightclub is spicy.
And it features everything: Kufa hats, asbestos, MTV's Dan Cortez. All right. If we're talking about MTV's Dan Cortez and Bill Hader characters on Saturday Night Live, maybe it's time for the end of the episode. Thank you so much for our third fantasy draft of the history of the podcast. It was a lot of fun for me because I love fantasy drafting things and I love Dragon Quest. And we are not done celebrating Dragon Quest this month. We're doing 2 episodes on Dragon Quest IV over the next 2 weeks, and then another episode about one of the characters that was drafted today. Ooh. We'll let you know about who exactly next week.
It's Agent 47.
You know that I won't say no, but anyway, there is a special Dragon Quest character focused episode after we do 2 episodes on Dragon Quest IV, and it is early enough that we can talk, or I should say it's late enough that we can talk about what we're doing in June. We're doing 2 episodes on other Square Enix games. First, one for FF14 Shadowbringers, then another one on Nier Replicant, because a lot of people are playing that remake right now, and a lot of people are going to be excited to talk about it once they've rolled credits on a couple of the endings, let's say. And but following Shadowbringers and Replicant, we are doing 2 episodes on Nights in the Nightmare, which is a really interesting I think it was developed by Sting, a game for the PSP and DS around the 2008 to 2010 range. A couple people on RPG Fan are huge fans of that game, so at least enough for 2 dedicated episodes on it coming in June. But listeners, if you want to talk about our upcoming episodes or anything at all, you can email us. retro@rpgfan.com is the best way to reach us. You can also visit RPG Fan's message boards, our Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter page, Discord server, YouTube channel, Twitch channel, something streaming every day on Twitch and a couple times a month on YouTube. There are also 3 other fine podcasts on RPG Fan. Rhythm Encounter about RPG music, Phoenix Edge, a weekly podcast mostly focused on current events, and Random Encounter about random topics, and formerly hosted by you, Rob Steinman.
I know. I've been retired for a while.
But Greg Delmage and John O'Logan do a fabulous job hosting Random Encounter every 2 weeks.
Yes, they do.
And you can also listen to them wherever you find your podcasts. But wherever you find your podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, whatever, please rate and review Retro Encounter, Random Encounter, and all the others that RPG Fan hosts. We love feedback. Give us feedback. But if you want to give us feedback individually and personally, and not just on a podcast page, how can listeners find us? Starting with you, Zach.
You can email me at zachw@rpgfan.com, or you can find me on Discord at zachw.
And Rob, can people find you?
Nope, don't have a social media presence. That's just the way I am. I am old.
I come closer to wanting to have that for myself every day, and one day it will happen, but not quite yet. But before I get to my social media, Wes, how can listeners find you?
If you want to, you can always check me out at Wes Iliff on Twitter. Otherwise, check out the stuff I've written for RPG Fan. It's fun. It's cool. It's hip.
That's right, all 4 of us have written things for RPG Fan many times, and if you search our names on that website, you can find our writing oeuvre as well. But if you want to find my social media oeuvre, the easiest way is Twitter. I'm at The Real Monsoon most of the time, at Evoker for Dogs other times, and I'm also Monsoon Mike on RPG Fan's Discord. So we have a lot of Dragon Quest ahead of us, gentlemen, and I should get to my Ladies of the 80s playthrough of Dragon Quest IV soon. Maybe go for a final party of Lady Hero, Elena, and then the 2, what are they, like the Wizard Priest sisters?
The sisters.
Yeah. It's they changed the names of them from the NES to the DS, and I still mix them up. I'm a bad fan, obviously. But listeners, you aren't bad fans. So, from the London Silly Nannies, the Cobra Claw Dojo, Bloodbath and Beyond, and the Tortured Groans, thank you, good night, and good luck.